What's going on, everyone? It is Monday night. Welcome back to the Truck Parking Clubhouse. Hope you guys had a fantastic week and weekend. If you're not subscribed to the Taillights newsletter that just went out at 7 p.m., go to newsletter.truckparkingclub.com. Also, take a look at the bottom banner of the screen. We did officially today hit 2,100 properties all across the nation, nationwide. More truck parking available for drivers out there across the entire United States. So if you need parking tonight, you can go to truckparkingclub.com. You can download the app. The app is completely free. And also we've got discounts that are in the newsletter, so you can get your first booking free. We've got a driver who's going to come on here. He's got a promo code to give you guys some free parking tonight. So always mark your calendars for Monday night for the Taillights newsletter, as well as the Truck Parking Clubhouse. And again, if you're listening now and you need to book parking now, you can use the code Lombard25 to get yourself some parking if you're out there. And again, 2,100 properties. We hit that milestone. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, going along with the newsletter and everything, we'll be talking about some good topics tonight, especially regarding autonomous trucks. So if you got any questions, by the way, as we're talking, feel free to drop them in the comments section below, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you guys are tuning in. Big shout out to Cowboy1314 on Instagram. Thank you for saying hello. But without any further delay, I want to bring one of these gentlemen up here. Adam Smith is one of our partners. He works with us here at Truck Parking Club. We work in tandem. He's an individual who wants to leave this industry better than he found it, and that's why he works with us to help drivers get some parking. So without any further delay, I want to bring the man of the hour onto the stage. What's going on, Adam?
Not much, Michael. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. It is good to see you. Good to see you're parked safely. How's it going? Where are you at?
Right now, I'm in Waterfall, Pennsylvania, at one of the service stations, not service stations, but rest areas, service plazas. There you go. Parked here this morning and actually got out and had a good walk. Thought about you while I was doing it. They got a awesome little siding trail here that goes down the old Pennsylvania Turnpike, and I walked down to one of the old tunnels, and it was pretty cool. So it was about 6 miles total round trip. So 2.8 there, 2.8 back, and came back and went to sleep really good.
That is that. Hey, that's the content I live for, as you know. And so, yeah, for anybody who is out there watching right now, if you are sitting and watching this, feel free to take that as your reminder to maybe get up, throw your headset on, go for a walk. It is the best thing you can do for your legs, for your back, and for your overall quality of life. So good to hear that. Good to hear that the rest station there in Pennsylvania's got it set up for to do some sightseeing. But let's we got some viewers coming in. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Where are you from? What's your story? What got you trucking?
Well, I'm 54 years old right now. I came into the field when I was 51, kind of late start in life, I guess you would say. I worked for the IC company before I became a truck driver. Worked there for 20 years. And worked my way up from a service tech all the way to field operations manager. Just the last few years of working with the company, the feel of the company changed during COVID, and I lost a couple of really good technicians to COVID, and a couple of really good friends. I knew them for years. Being with the company for 20 plus years, and I just had to make a change. And I had always wanted to be a truck driver. When me and my wife first got married, almost 30 years ago. Next week will be 30 years for our marriage. I tried to get on it with Snyder back in the day. It was probably 29 years ago. I wasn't able to because I was diabetic. Found out through Snyder that I was diabetic. But now rules have changed, and now I can be a truck driver even with my diabetes. And I just made that change, from corporate life, I guess you would say, to trucking. And I've really enjoyed it. And it's the freedom is so much better. And just the opportunities that come with the job. So I've really been enjoying it the last 3 years. I just had my 3-year anniversary as a truck driver, and just had my 1-year anniversary where I currently work with Tyson Foods. So really enjoying the journey so far. Let's just say that. So
No, that's
really,
awesome.
that's really me in a nutshell, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fascinating for the conversations I have. It's a question I ask on a podcast show that I still do to this day because it's important. Because I think it's the most important question is people, how people found their way behind the wheel of a semi truck, especially guys who are making content about it, is always really special. And I mean, I'm friends with so many. We're obviously all friends with more drivers who don't make content than do. And we always, and at least in my eyes, I believe that their stories are some of the most valuable out there because there's people who need to see them. Like I know a young lady who is in her mid-20s who hauls livestock, and by all means, there's another girl in high school out there who needs to see that because maybe her friends and everybody around her is like either going to college or they're not into that same type of thing. But there's that one girl who needs to see it, and the same is to be said for a gentleman such as yourself, where they could be at the same job for 20 years. Maybe they're an ops manager wherever they might be, and they might think, well, I've been doing this for 20 years, and so I guess I have to see this through. And that one video or that one conversation or that one live stream or that one podcast that maybe comes across their algorithm can kind of change it. So it's important that I find the most value in it, and I know I'm not alone in it. So I mean, that's awesome, man. That's good stuff. And so you've been with Tyson for a year. What do you show? Is it all refrigerated?
It's pretty much all refrigerated. I don't think I've ever had anything that I haven't had the reefer on. So I mean, we haul some flour and stuff, but that's our seasoning for the crispy chicken strips and stuff like that. And of course, we make most of the chicken nuggets out there for McDonald's, Burger King, stuff like that. So if it's a protein, we're pulling it. I had down in my name there. I had my name, my YouTube channel, and I had protein relocator. I was like, yeah, that's a little too much.
I'd keep that in there. I like that. I like the sound of that. And so with Tyson, are you able to do they have it set up where you're doing a lot of drop and hook, or are you or is it a lot of live unload, live load, live unload?
It's probably 90% drop and hook and about 10%. Pop Dart Gun Trucking. I haven't talked to you in a while. About 10% where we still deliver to customers, but a lot of we have a lot of outside carrier base that delivers more customer loads than we do. Like I said, I've only been here a year, but I've learned a lot about the culture here, and Tyson is really pushing to become more of their own private carrier. Not, I guess, in both ways. To run more of their own loads and less outside carrier loads. So that was explained to me when I went through onboarding.
Yeah, it seems like I know based off of our conversations and how we talk offline, it seems like, which makes sense. It seems like Tyson's trying to go the same kind of route that kind of how Walmart operates in a lot of ways. I mean, at least that's kind of what I'm seeing on my end.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they want to do. So I mean, they've added a lot of drivers over this last year, and so far I think it's been pretty good. I mean, we just went through road check, and from what I got from the safety manager is that we did really good. So he didn't give me the exact numbers that I asked for. He says, "Well, I don't know if I really want to give those out." I'm like, "Well, the public knowledge, I can find them out. I'm just coming to you for the source." So, but he didn't want to give them out. But he said we did really good. We only had a few violations. So,
Hey, that's always good. That's always good to hear. A few violations. And speaking of those violations, I did want to ask you. So when was the first time you heard of Truck Parking Club, and what's it been like? What's it been like using Truck Parking Club?
I've I've had your app on my phone pretty much since I've been trucking. Um, I didn't really start using it until the last year or not. Um, but yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw your guys, one of your first ads, I was like, oh, hey, I might have to download that. That sounds interesting. And I looked at it every now and then, but you know, I just never got around to using it until like the last year. And I used it before I became an affiliate with you guys, and I was like, hey, this is pretty nice. There's sometimes you just can't make that stop, where you're going to park at. I guess I've been kind of lucky. I mean, I've only been in the career for 3 years now, and I've only had to do some sketchy stuff once or twice. So I know guys that have been in the field for 20 years and they have to do sketchy stuff all the time. But yeah, man, the app is great. I think I've used it 3 or 4 times this year alone, and it's been great. It's really helped out, especially in the middle of the night when your clock's going to stop at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're not going to find anything out there. At a truck stop, you're going to pull in there, and there's going to be bonus parkers and creative parking, and just people that just don't care how they park that late at night. So man, finding the place on the app, couple of seconds to log in and grab it, and you get there and there's nobody there. It's open, it's free, it's clean. It's been incredibly helpful every time that I've used it. So thank you guys for doing this. Congratulations on the 2,100 spots, man. That's great.
Yeah, it's been awesome. The property team has really been rocking and rolling with so many new relationships being built with bringing property members on, and what's really been awesome is to see the other side, is seeing how the property team's been working, because I see some of the conversations that they're having, and there's some people, there's drivers on social media who I know, they have their opinions on Truck Parking Club. They're under this predisposition that we're, maliciously entering, truck and travel centers, and turning free parking into paid. And it's just, and I was, when I was still driving, I was skeptical of this myself. But again, like there's three sides to every story. There's his side, her side, and the truth. And the thing is when you actually have conversations with people, and you get off of the internet, and kind of listening to maybe what some general opinions are, you kind of learn. And I see who the property team is having conversations with. And for anybody who does follow our social media, Hunter is a main character in a lot of our videos, and I know where he's at and who he's talking to. And these 2,100 properties, almost 99% of these properties are all places that have you kind of have stayed at. They are people who own extra land that can feasibly park trucks. And when it comes to your case too, I'm curious, where was the first ad you saw Truck Parking Club on? Was it a Facebook ad, or did you happen to see it? Where did you happen to see it?
I believe it was a Facebook ad. Yeah, I believe it was a Facebook ad that I just ran across. I mean, back then, it wasn't. It was just like once I saw it once, and I was like, "Oh, that was interesting." And then probably a couple of weeks later, I saw it again. But now, I mean, it doesn't matter what social media I'm on. You guys are popping up like crazy now. So yeah, I mean, it was Facebook at first, um, and then I started seeing you guys later on, on the other social medias and everything. So
No, that's good, and I'm glad it's been a good use case. I mean, that's really where and what Truck Parking Club is kind of meant to do. And I think the two biggest use cases, me having done heavy haul in the past, and pulling RGN, big use case, especially if you're taking up two parking spots. You're maybe a little bit high. Like there's certain places you can't go, certain places you're not gonna want to park, and so it makes sense in that aspect. But I always, I mean, I said it when I started driving, like I did not want to haul reefer because I know that it has kind of an ever revolving schedule a lot of times. And you had said it, there's times where your appointments, you're getting done at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And some people start their days around 3, 4 in the morning. I know that, but really it's once, it's just after 5 o'clock, it does become, depending on where you are, it becomes a nightmare. And I mean, it's a situation that I've been in. It's a situation, a lot of people have been in, especially if they've been in it longer than longer than longer than 6 months. I feel like within the first 6 months, you're going to come across a sort of a parking issue. And like people who are hauling refrigerated freight are the ones I think who, truthfully, it's kind of the best. It's a tool for your tool belt. Again, is it feasible? Like no company driver or owner operator, and not even us as Truck Parking Club, is saying like you need to be paying for parking and using us every night. Like I mean, Hunter and myself have explicitly said it's a tool for the tool belt. And if you are a truck driver, whether you're an owner operator or a company driver, it's the same reason you carry an extra jug of coolant. It's the same reason you carry um, an ice scraper for your windshield. It's the same reason you keep a literal toolbox in case you would need to change some hose clamps or you can do some quick repairs. Same reason you have an extra airline, like whatever it could be. Like it's that same tool where it's an actual piece of technology that can come in handy if and when you need it. Or as Ralph, he's tuning in here live. If you know your schedule, if you know your freight, if you know your lanes ahead of time, and you know that you can make it from point A to point B in an allotted time, but you know that you're going to get there after a certain time. Oh, I can pre-book this for a little bit a little bit less. I could drive longer, and really me driving longer ends up netting a little bit more money, or you're able to get another load because you were able to pre-book it. So I'm glad it's been a good use case for you.
Yeah, it really has, because like you said, schedules are everything, and I drive at night, and I just find it easier to drive at night. I make more miles, and it's easier for me in the morning. But there's those times where my schedule switches, and I'm delivering at 1, 2 in the morning instead of 4 or 5 in the morning. Because if I'm delivering at 4 or 5, it's going to be a couple hour unload, and then it's going to be 7, 8 o'clock. I can find a parking spot at a truck stop pretty easy. But those times where, oh hey, you're Walmart in Sterling, Illinois. Yeah, you're not going to find anything around that area for a truck stop. You're going to have to go 80 miles in either direction to find a truck stop. But yeah, I mean, you can pull something up and go, hey, well, here's something 40 miles away. I can go down there, boop, 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 and boom, you're in, and then you're asleep. You're not having to spend extra hours and burning your clock away trying to find a parking spot. That's the worst thing. First time I wish it was probably 6 months after I started driving, and I used to work for Wilson Logistics. And I got out of this place. I probably had 2 hours left on my drive clock, and it took me an hour and 56 minutes to find a parking spot. Now I'm just like, if I would have known about you guys a lot sooner, I probably would have looked into it. But I mean, with your app, it just helps out. It takes that searching time down immensely.
Yeah, and an hour and 56 minutes, that's, minimum. possibly 120 miles, that you could be driving. I think that's real. When you're really bullet pointing it, that's what it comes down to. That's no, that's good, man. I'm glad the ads worked. And to anybody watching, again, if you need to know, if you're looking for truck parking right now, Adam has a promo code. Adam, what is your code for some drivers to get some free parking if they need it tonight?
It was 51 Logistics, all one word.
51 Logistics, all one word, all lowercase.
All lowercase.
Yes, sir. And that'll get you $20 off a booking if you're looking for parking right now. You can download the app. But kind of going into the topic of the day, because I think it's important. I think it's a conversation you can't just have more than once. And that's the whole point of this documentary that had actually come out. There's a documentary that came out, and what's incredible about it is, when it comes to news in the trucking industry, it's not news until it becomes news. Is the best way to describe it. We kind of saw this during COVID. People lost their minds over toilet paper, and then all of a sudden, trucking enters the news. But with all the issues going on in the trucking world, they very seldom see major media outlets. And so it was really surprising was there's a nonprofit independent news channel called More Perfect Union. They have a YouTube channel with almost 2 million subscribers. And they have quite a popular Instagram and TikTok account as well. And they had received a submission for a story about what the use of AI in the supply chain is going to look like, specifically with autonomous trucks. And what's the most important is the individuals who are interviewed with it. They had on Steve Viscelli, who is the author of a book called The Big Rig: Trucking and the Decline of the American Dream. They were talking to Teamsters. And actually, you could see my face in that documentary because some of it was filmed at the Mid-America Truck Show. And it essentially talks, and the main point and the main goal of this documentary wasn't even to say that we shouldn't necessarily allow this, or we need to stop this technology. But the real, at least what I took home from it, and if you haven't watched it, that's probably fine. I kind of just wanted your opinion on autonomous and see kind of what but the whole point is that we need to get ahead of this, because if we don't get ahead of what's to come with autonomous vehicles, then there could be a lot of bankruptcies, civil unrest. And I just want to hear what your take was on autonomous and kind of what you've been seeing, what you've been reading. What do you think about robot trucks?
Well, it's twofold. They're out there. Tyson even has a small fleet of straight trucks that do store deliveries and stuff like that. I believe it's store deliveries, but they're just like 18-foot straight trucks. They're not driverless. There is a driver in the cab, but as far as I haven't been able to talk to any of them yet. But they're there for safety reasons. Unfortunately, it's coming down the road, but I don't see it coming down the road in the next 15 years to be fully autonomous. I think there's always going to be somebody in that seat, because there's got to be. As far as I can see it, there's got to be. There's not an infrastructure for it. This is not iRobot, where you have the scene of those big old semis driving 300 miles an hour and they're all in a line together. It'll be years before I believe that we'll see something like that. In a way, I think it can be a good thing because it can help a driver out. But I know a lot of the old school guys they're worried about it, but I don't think it's going to be in their lifetime that we see this stuff on the road. I know Texas is running a test right now between Dallas and Houston. I'm glad to see they put drivers back in the trucks. I think it's Aurora. think it is. But yeah, my personal opinion, I have those worries too. I just got into the field, but like I said, I don't see it in 15 years until it's ready to go. Yeah, that's my thoughts on it. And again, it's just like electric trucks. You know, I think they would be great, but the infrastructure is not there. I don't see electric trucks being on the road for at least 15, 20 years in mass quantities.
Yeah, I think that there's some issue with. I feel like that there's missing steps. Like I think the jump is trying to almost like as if it's being forced. Like it's like they're trying to force this manifestation of it where like back in the 50s, everybody talked about flying cars. Like this idea of like, oh, by the year 2000, we should have flying cars and we're going to be on Mars and all this stuff. And I think it was very easy for us to say that as a society, considering how quickly we went from the airplane to going to the moon. From the Wright brothers to the moon landing, essentially, 60 years or so, give or take a couple. Um, I think the Wright brothers were what 1903,
Yeah.
maybe perhaps. I don't want to. Somebody can fact check that. And then the moon landing is 1969. So it's like, and I think the jump from airplane to the moon landing happened so quickly that we're kind of spoiled in this idea of rapid technology, where we think that, oh, this technology is really like we're able to grow, and we've seen technology ramp up. I mean, just look at social media from MySpace to today, how much has changed. I mean, it's essentially every major company of, like any company, like even like Tylenol has an Instagram account. Like, you know what I mean? Like down to that basic level, like not even like Advil, they have to run ads on YouTube. They're running ads all over the place. And we see how much that's kind of grown in a short period of time. But I think there's steps along the way between, especially bridging the gap between going fully electric, going from diesel to fully electric, and then going all of a sudden where you're going to be driver out in the truck. And companies like Aurora are very audacious in their claims of wanting to be, they've been saying that they'll be able to be driver out in a very short amount of time. And it's almost as if that they're missing a step. Like they think that they could be driver out by X date and time. Like I know that just at the end of last year, they were saying by the end of 2025, they'll be ready for fully driver out. And it's, again, as you said, these vehicles are doing test runs between. There are some on I-10, and then I-45 has been like the major battlefield where they've been going, but but they haven't done any driving in Minnesota or across the Midwest. So it's like, at what scale is this going to happen? And are we gonna be able to get ahead of it? And I think that there's a lot of legal hurdles in the way before we start doing this. And I think there's still this issue, as you said, because some old school guys who are worried about it. But this is driving a truck is the most popular job for high school educated males in all 50 states. And I think, and even if you slow that progression, so even if autonomous trucks were to slow roll out, you're talking about slowly eliminating these jobs. Where do those people then go? What jobs are they going to fall into? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You're saying something about flying cars that popped in my head. It's going to show my age. I'm sure you watched the Jetsons when you were a kid.
Oh yeah.
You know what year that's based in, right?
Tell me it was like 2009.
No, 2024. So that's a little mind blowing. So, but yeah, I just don't see the infrastructure there yet. You know, like you said, what's a truck like that going to do in Nebraska during storm season with 60, 70 mile per hour gusts? Is it going to be smart enough to go, hey, I need to pull over, or how's it going to judge that? Because computer can't fill the seat like a driver can. Hey, oh, hey, yeah, I need to pull over. That one almost took me off the road, or moved me from the left lane to the right lane, or it's very, it's just not there yet. I don't think the technology is there, and it's going to get there. You know, it'll get there, and like I said, I think 15, 20 years, uh, the electric ones definitely probably not for another 20 years because I don't think our grid could handle it. I was looking at a TikTok just a couple minutes ago, and it was a Chinese company, and they were showing off one of their trucks, and it kind of looks like a Scania, but it's methane hydrogen hybrid. Good looking truck, but how, how's that going to happen? Just a whole nother infrastructure that everybody's complaining about methane from cows now. You're never going to make somebody happy. There's always going to be somebody there that's going to go, well, that's not good. This is not good. On and on and on. And and to your uh, case, being heavy haul, I don't ever see an autonomous truck doing a heavy haul job, doing 150, 175 plus thousand pounds, being 75, 80, 100 feet long on some of these things. I mean, you see a Thomas truck taking one of those windmill blades down the road? No, I don't see that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a real plausible. It doesn't seem like that it's really plausible. And what's crazy is that's so like the autonomous realm and what the documentary touches on is how it's really it's trying to come for line haul. Like line haul is really where it's headed because it's the biggest, it's the largest. That's how most of the freight moves is from is basic line haul freight. But if you start to eliminate those jobs, there is a demand for people in specialized freight. Like you still need drivers who are doing heavy haul. So, but as you take away the line haul drivers, more and more drivers are going to go into specialized. And when more and more drivers flood into the specialized, it could drive down the wages of that position because now that there's this surplus. So it runs into a couple issues. The weather factor is always the biggest one because if that truck does pull over in a certain storm, like if it's in Nebraska and does end up pulling over, where's it going to pull over? One, and how's it, how like when is it supposed to take off? So I mean, I feel like there could be a delay in certain shipments. How's it going to work on the brokerage side of things? Like, how's it going to work if a truck is down on that end? Are the freight brokers going to lose it because they deal with a robot trucking company now that is trying to practice safety to the nines, and then all of a sudden their freight is not delivered on time? I think that there's a domino effect. Ralph's got a question though. I mean, he brings up a good point, and he talks about putting more electronics on semis. And this is a valid point that a lot of old school drivers I talk to mention is as more and more technology has really gotten into these trucks, they've made like they do what's called de-skilling people, where you don't, and this is the argument with the automatic restriction. And now, me personally, I don't believe, I don't think that there should be automatic restrictions. I think that there should be automatic trucks. Personal preference, what somebody wants, but an automatic restriction, I think knowing how to shift is a valuable skill. And as they add these electronics in to this stuff, it kind of personally makes somebody not think as much because they don't have to because of this electronics. I mean, think of how many drivers don't carry an Atlas anymore, so to speak. But he wanted me to ask you about this eSmart automation.
Yeah, I mean, both me and Ralph have it in our trucks, and Tyson's currently putting it in all their trucks. I enjoy it in a way but I'm not one of those guys that just put it to the floor and go anyways. I'm very safe. I just hit my 100,000 here, safe miles at Tyson, and same with Ralph. Ralph's been here 3 years, and I think he's closer to 400,000, almost 500,000 miles, being a safe driver and everything. It does limit us to the speed limit, which is, I think, okay. It helps out a lot more when we have to go on back roads and through small towns, because it will, derate us to what the speed limit is geofenced on that road. And I've seen how the maps work and everything through the safety manager here. And they're fairly accurate, not 100% accurate, but I know myself and I know Ralph, whenever we come across something that's, hey, we're I-85 going through Atlanta and it's 55 miles an hour because it was in construction 6 months ago, but now it's 70. All we have to do is send an email to our safety manager. He sends it off to eSmart and it's fixed the next night, where you can do that 70. A lot of drivers at Tyson aren't going to like it, because they've been able to just put that right foot down and just go. Yeah. But now, they're going to be limited to what the speed limit is. I mean, trucks here are governed anyways, but you get a driver that doing 65 and a 55. Now you're going to be doing 55. It's going to upset some drivers. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think it's a safer way of doing things. It can be a little aggravating at times, especially if that map's not right. But it's safe, and we need to be safe.
I imagine a lot of drivers stay away from California then.
Oh, well, we don't go to California.
Oh, that's good.
We drop off. We got one of those. I think we got a DC in Arizona somewhere, so we drop off there, and then they cross border California. I've driven in California. It's 55. I mean, it's the law. Do what the law says. Does everybody follow the law? Nope. Have I gone 60 before in California? Yep. It's the way things are, but I like it more than I dislike it. Ralph's coming around to it, but he's been driving for 20 plus years. And yeah, he is right. I mean, there is a lot of technology in the trucks now. Sometimes, we go through a rainstorm and we've got all the accident avoidance stuff on our trucks too. And we go through a rainstorm and then they all go out at the same time because the front radar gets wet. And then you don't have cruise control, you don't have adaptive braking, you don't have hill assist, you don't have ABS. It all goes out. I mean, technology is there. Technology is always going to be there from now on out, and hopefully it gets better. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's really like when it comes to the crux of this conversation is we've got to hope it could just continues to get better, and I think for it to get better is having conversations like this, is talking about it, because it's the driver who's using it at the end of the day, and if that feedback's not out there, and the only feedback to the technology not being where it, I guess, needs to be, can't be through turnover. You don't want, if the only feedback, because if the technology is causing people to leave the industry, which in many cases it probably is. I mean, there's definitely drivers who, I remember working in the warehouse when the ELD mandate came out, and I remember hearing drivers talking about this, like saying like this could be it. I might hang it up. Like this is the biggest load of crap. This is how we make money. And so I'm sure that there's people who do hang some keys up because of this stuff, but that can't be the feedback that's not the feedback that's going to make the technology better. I think the feedback that's going to make the technology better is having conversations like this on platforms like this, talking to drivers like this, and realizing that it's people such as yourself who need to be involved in the conversations, especially when it comes to anything autonomous rolling out. I mean, we just got some great points from Pop Tart coming up here. Like if that truck has an out of service violation at a scale house or something, who is this? Like our like which motor carriers are going to take? Because you look at who hauls the freight in the U.S. and like some 90% of the carriers in the U.S. are like, less than 100 trucks or something like that. I'd have to look up that exact stat. And so, how do you find like who's the driver that gets the out of service violation? How's it going to affect? Yeah, how's it going to affect those safety scores? Um, I mean, it's just like if one's involved, I imagine what's going to happen with insurance. What if there's an accident involving one? What I mean, we just talked about SB 30 in the last newsletter. And if there was a case like the Werner case where that nuclear verdict, where the car, for those of you who are listening, there was a big Werner nuclear verdict. It was raining. A car on the opposite side of the highway drifted across the median, like across an entire median, almost like 50 yards, and hit a Werner truck head on, and people in that vehicle had died. And they went after Werner for it, found Werner liable by trying to say that the truck should have never been on the road in the first place. And so say something like that because it was raining, there was freezing rain or something, and there was no emergency declaration, but again, if you guys want to listen, you can go back to last Clubhouse. At the end of the day, it was a multi-million-dollar nuclear verdict. So if this were to happen to a driverless truck, where the driverless truck happened to be on the road, and I just covered in the last newsletter about the trucks parked on the on-off ramps, like a bus, hit trucks on an on-off ramp, and they determined that the cause of the accident was a lack of truck parking. So if these are self-driving trucks that are either shut down or operating safely, and something happens to where a driver hits one of those trucks, how are they? Because we have this issue where SB 30 didn't go. It's still fair game for these billboard attorneys to go right after a motor carrier and tear them down because of the deaths. And then you don't even have a driver you can even blame. You don't have anything to blame. I think it turns. This stuff turns the legal system into an absolute nightmare.
No, absolutely. Because I mean, the last 4 or 5 big crashes that have been on, rest area off ramps, it's all been the driver's fault. It's on the off ramp, not the guy that's coming into the rest area at 90 miles an hour in the F-150 pickup truck or anything like that, or the bus, like you said. That Greyhound bus took out 6 trucks, because he was speeding and he was coming into the exit ramp too fast. But it's always the truck's fault. That just throws another question out there. I know there was a company in. Because I always had this one. I'm like, well, who's going to do the pre-trip? Truck going to do the pre-trip? Hey, what's some trailer tires like? But there was a company that was running from Birmingham to just outside of Atlanta, and they were running autonomous trucks last year, and they made a deal with one of the pilots out there on I-20 to use their parking lot as a pre-post trip switchover. So live drivers from Atlanta would pick up the loads from there, take them into Atlanta, bring loads back out there. Truck would take it to Birmingham. I don't know where it was set up in Birmingham, but they had one person out there doing pre-trips on all the trucks. Are you going to do that everywhere? Or, and that goes to, how are these trucks going to back up? Yeah, if you've got plenty of room, you can do it. But deliver to a Cisco somewhere, and you got 6 inches between you and the trucks on either side of you with your doors open. I mean, I've spent 30 minutes backing into a spot. because you're trying not to hit the fence that's 2 feet in front of you and not take the guy's mirror off at the same time. I don't see a truck doing that. There's no way they're going to be that smart. I mean, this job is way too much seat of the pants. What your butt feels in the seat. It's just like you said. Yeah, the technology's just not there yet. And I just don't see the trucks being that safe at this moment, even with the technology that we have now. And yeah, it's going to advance. It's not going to be Jetsons, but it's coming.
No, I think that's well put. And I mean, a couple people in here bring up some good point. Pop Tart brings up a good point. I mean, my biggest concern with it is definitely rooted in national security. I mean, I've said repeatedly, I was like, we had a pipeline get hacked a couple of years ago, like down in the South, and we see it. I used to live in West Haven, Connecticut, and we had in the entire city of West Haven got their like all of the computer software that essentially ran the town, like the public works, all that stuff. Like the city was almost held virtually hostage by these hackers. They like turned everything off at City Hall for them to like run stuff, and they demanded to be paid in Bitcoin to a certain wallet for them to give it back. And the city of West Haven paid that ransom to get access to their city back. And so if there's people out there who are able to literally hold towns, like public government, hostage, I mean, who is at the helm of what autonomous companies are doing? You look at where these companies have some links to, who they have ties to. I believe that many are tied to adversaries overseas, and when you give up control, when you give up control of that stuff, again, I think it leaves us vulnerable to just a myriad of national security issues. I mean, to where, I'll go as far as to say, the next 9/11 won't need pilots. Like you're not going to need pilots if all we're thinking is how we're going to advance technology and how it's going to make society better. We also, people have this debate about the nuclear bomb. Did the nuclear bomb end World War II? Sure, but it also cascaded into, still. There are still tensions between the U.S. and nuclear powers because of the advent of the nuclear bomb. And I'm not trying to compare robots to the nuclear bomb, but there could be similar circumstance to that, and that needs to be a part of the conversation. Ralph's even saying that you guys had Orbcom, and it was hijacked last year, and it took 2 months, and that's why you guys switched to Samsara. So they're already doing it.
Yeah, we don't know where a lot of this stuff comes from, Oh, it's American made, but yeah, there's one circuit board that may be from China that's got malware on it, and it's a back door. You never know. We just 2 weeks ago we saw what semi trucks can do to infrastructure in Russia. Those were driven by humans, but then again, it brought up the conversation: can that happen in the United States? Absolutely, it can.
That's like the best point right there. Like, we already have a cargo theft issue. Like I've talked about cargo theft. We've had, we saw there was that big crime syndicate that got taken down in Southern California so cargo theft is already at all-time highs everywhere. That's freight waves. Everybody's saying it. So if cargo theft is an all-time high, and then you add robot trucks in the mix and people getting away with cargo theft, is that what we want for the sake of cheaper freight at the end? Because at the end of the day, that's all we're talking about. We're talking about the cost of freight being cheaper, and that's the only goal. The goal of this, I think they'll talk about safety. They'll say that it's safer because obviously in Santiago was just on here last week. The number one cause of accidents is fatigue and distracted driving. Those are the number one and number two causes of accidents, fatigue and distracted driving, for sure. But we can correct that. You can correct those once you kind of open Pandora's box, though. I think, and especially if we go on the timeline of not having conversations like this, not getting driver input, and not having full conversations at the public level where the general public is also involved in this, then you're just opening yourself up to, I mean, if cargo theft is so high, yeah, what's stopping anybody from packing a bunch of drones into a truck, container comes off, they send it right to wherever, anywhere. It's a little frightening to talk about, but again,
It is.
that's why we're doing the Clubhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm big into the security side of like podcasts and everything. I listen to the Sean Ryan show, things like that. Because I have 100% respect for the guys that serve this country, and listening to their stories, just makes me feel good to know that they were there and that they're still there. And some of the technology experts that he has come on his show and everything makes me feel a little bit safer about situations like that. Not plugging another podcast or anything on your show here, but
That's a good
it's
show.
it is it is, and you know, you always got to worry about that, especially with the theft and everything. I mean, Tyson, we're not even allowed to park in Birmingham. Yeah, they're like, nope, you cannot park in Birmingham. That is the number one place that we'll get our trucks broke into. Yeah, yeah. It, and we have drive-bys for our pre-pass things, and you go through Chicago, and the drive-bys will go off saying high threat area or high theft area. It's just like, keep going. Get down the road about another 20 miles, you might be all right. But there's an example of good technology. Don't park here. It's bad. You know why is it bad? That's a whole nother discussion for probably another channel, but probably not. But, I do like the way things are going with the new administration and some of the things that are coming out. You know, with the Department of Transportation, I think Sean Duffy's doing a great job so far, and he's hitting a lot of points that truckers want to hear about.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been reading a lot lately. There's a good friend. He's got a channel. He calls himself CDL Shorty, and he was actually complimenting Duffy himself. I mean, Sean Duffy apparently himself has a CDL.
Yeah, I believe so. I think Ralph actually knows him.
Oh, really?
I believe. I may be wrong, but from years past. But yeah, I mean, on that, and Vice President Vance, I mean, he had bills on the floor when he got nominated to be vice president for more truck parking. So hopefully that comes to fruition. Because I think last time I saw anything Mr. Duffy said was, that's one of the things that he's looking into, not only getting rid of some of the old, outdated regulations, but adding some newer stuff in there to help make truck parking easier. Just like where I'm parked right now at this service plaza. This place it was a decent place 2 years ago. They've doubled the parking here. There's probably 200 to 300 spots here now, and it's really nice. When I pulled in here, I'm like, I don't remember this being that big, and then I went up and read all the construction signs. They just finished the construction. So, I mean, some states are adding it. Loves, they're plopping down 200 new parking locations this year. Will it ever be enough? No, I don't think so. Not as fast as the industry's growing. Kind of off subject. I apologize. It's just I
No,
bargain.
that's good though. It's good that you're in a good spot. That's you've witnessed that has added parking over time. Is it still full where you're at? Right? Is it full over there? Are there some empty
Let's see.
spaces?
Right now, it's 21:27 where I'm at. No, there's parking. I mean, there's probably a lot of parking from where I can see. The whole new parking lot probably has 3 or 4 complete rows.
Are you
Uh,
off the turnpike, or are you
yeah,
off of?
I'm off 76 right
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that also could do it. But
now. Yeah,
no, this was an awesome conversation, man. I appreciate you coming on again. Regular rotation. We should get you and Ralph on here together one of these days. I know
absolutely.
I'm going to be trying to get Ralph to pop up on here in a couple weeks. But yeah, I mean, before we sign this one off, let the live viewers know. Appreciate every single one of you guys who are tuning in live. If you have one last quick question, feel free to drop it in the comments. But where can the people find you and kind of follow along with your journey?
Uh, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, 51 Logistics. Look that up. Uh, I post probably weekly on YouTube as best I can. And Ralph, you're crazy. You're going to have fun with him, sir. You have one of those beat buttons just in case. Yeah. But yeah, YouTube, Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but I really don't do anything on Facebook on 51 Logistics. It's a little hard to keep up with all the social media and do the driving stuff. So videos are hard enough. But
YouTube's YouTube's the spot.
yeah, I have been doing a lot more cooking videos this last month. So cooking in the truck, trying to stay healthy and stuff like that. So new series for me that I started off. So go on, check it out. I appreciate you guys. That have checked me out, and yeah, it's been great talking with you, man. I definitely love to do this again on any other topics you can pop up with.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely make it happen soon. But definitely don't want to take up your whole night. Thanks again for coming on. I'll walk this one out, and dude, drive safe out there.
I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for Monday Night Clubhouse. Next week, I will be out of town. I'll be participating in the Texas Water Safari. But we plan to be live here still next week, anyways. I'm going to find a generous host who will take it on. Either way, taillights will still drop next Monday at 7 p.m. Central Time, as always. And again, just to let you guys know, live viewers, so Adam Smith himself, he partners with us at Truck Parking Club because he is passionate about leaving the industry better than he found it, similar to which is exactly what the mission of Truck Parking Club is to provide additional instantly reservable truck parking across the nation while working with property owners who also want to help in that mission. And again, you can if you're looking for parking right now, you can go to truckparkingclub.com. You can use the code 51 logistics, all lowercase, all one word, for $20 off that booking. And if you yourself are somebody who makes content, has a network, is involved in the trucking community, and you want to help leave the industry better than you found it, you want to help some drivers get parked, you can contact me on all social media platforms, Lombard Trucking. My email, lombard@truckparkingclub.com. We're always looking to add more members of this community who are looking to get involved. And there's multiple ways to be involved. I love input from the newsletter. No matter what, if you're watching this, you have a voice and it matters. You have an opinion and it matters, especially if you're one of America's truck drivers. We're looking to be that, be another resource, be another platform to give a voice to people out there who are trying to get a message and a mission out there that is important. Because again, as somebody commented earlier, inspecting gadgets. Appreciate you tuning in live. America's truck drivers are the backbone of the country, and so being the backbone, it means no matter who you are, who you think you are, you have a voice. It matters. An opinion. It matters. So with that, guys, we'll see you next time. Drive safe out there. And go to truckparkingclub.com. Book yourself some truck parking.